and you are the sole, you working with the Bureau of Reclamation, for clarification, that will qualify you for more funding, federal funding?
No, actually, it will allow us to now accept state funding because we don't have Yuma County actually holding the current lease agreement with the landowner. So it just makes us eligible to receive funds from the Arizona Department of Transportation first. And that's what completely, right now, today, helps offset the cost for us to maintain it. It has in the past, but currently, we've been using our own capital in order to maintain the airfield.
Okay, makes sense.
So that's the first step. Yeah, so that's,
Follow-up question to that. So the funding that you receive from the state, does that stay at Rowley Airfield, or specifically would that be used for that, or does it get into your general fund for the rest of the?
so they treat them as two separate entities because of the classification. So inside of the state aviation system planning and the SASP of the 83 airports, Raleigh Airfield is one airport and Yuma International is a separate airport, even though it has the same entity in which the authority oversees it. But the funding is wholly and solely separate. They don't identify with each other. They don't correlate, and you cannot commingle the funds whatsoever. And even if there's extra in the end, you cannot use those funds for anything else. It's basically like a
It will
reserve.
stay at.
Correct. It's already earmarked for one specific, and a specific project. So just like you run all of your projects here, I have to have the itemization, all of the wages, all of the drawdowns, all the reimbursements prior to receiving the reimbursements from ADOT.
When does the current lease expire? Or does
2024.
2024. Okay, so how long does it take you to become the main sponsor? Let's say, for example, you got it.
The Bureau of Reclamation, pretty much, well, we've been working on it for years, so they're ready. Once the termination happens with Yuma County, then they'll go ahead and process the new agreement. It's called a license agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation. So they'll be working that simultaneously, so there won't be any pause in a lease break. It just will see one terminate and the other one start. So we won't terminate with them until we know that everybody is in support of the authority taking on the lease or the license agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation.
Any more questions from council?
No, sir.
I'll throw one out there just to have some fun.
Absolutely.
Well, I read the history of how the airfield got named and everything. Is there any way to add Rowley Airfield of San Luis or something?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not hard to do once we do the signage.
Yeah,
That's not hard to do
Yeah.
at all. Without a doubt, we're happy to do that. Just like the skydive, I think first he was like, oh, I'm gonna do skydive. I'm like, you're in the city of San Luis. We're like, oh yeah, let's make it city of San Luis. So I think once we get the signage and everything else, absolutely. And there can be, again, that dedication and that opening in which they can see it as we sign on to a new agreement and a license agreement. I think that will be a great way to put it.
That, and I think it's also a good idea to refresh and do a new article, because reading the articles that Jenny provided in regards to the history of how Mr. Rowley helped get the original $25,000 funds and so forth, remind the community Rowley Airfield and how it became, because I didn't know that until I read this article from 1988 or whatever it was, so get that out there.
It's a very unique story. We're probably one of the few that have rehabilitated auxiliary fields. And so again, these are stationed throughout the United States. We just happened to see that it was a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
I also say that if we ever were to lose the agreement on that, it's kind of ironic that we would not be one of the eligible high priority candidates if we were ever to try to purchase that land. You know what I mean? So I always said, man, if they ever try to put it out there to be purchased, we actually wouldn't be a high priority as far as the way they place you on that list to purchase it. So
exactly.
I like the way we're situated today, and I know that the Department of Transportation is very supportive of it. They did allow us to explain what the agreement was before, and then we were very transparent on that. So luckily for us, all of our current grants are still current under our grant assurances, because we made sure we explained to them what the situation was and how we were remedying it today.
Well, I have no problem. For my personally, you should have the lease. That's my opinion. I think Raleigh Airfield will benefit from your experience. You've worked with the Yuma International Airport, and the thing is, if you can do the same thing you did to them, to Raleigh Airfield, and have it as a hub, I think it would benefit the city of San Luis. In order for the city to actually obtain or actually start the process, it would be very expensive. And what else? I mean, you've shown, how many years have you been working with Yuma International Airport?
13 years, a little bit over 13 years. And then as the airport director, 7. And then prior to that, I was an engineer with an independent family-owned company as a civil engineer. My background is actually mechanical. And then I went on to get my business degree after joining the airport. So my background has been primarily transportation. Before I was in commerce on ships. And so my background actually was in the sailing industry, and that's what I did in college. I sailed with Maersk.
Yeah. And the other issue is, you mentioned the cooperation, you mentioned about any future expansion, we would have to work with our engineers, we would have to work with our staff. Is there any way we can get that in writing? Because
Absolutely.
Because one thing, you can say something right here, but if we don't see it in writing, we're like, 5 years from now, you decide, you know something, we're gonna expand and we don't care.
Yeah, that's, so just so everybody knows, we have to follow the same ordinance. It's actually written in our grant assurances that for development, you have to work with your local ordinance in order for it to be qualifiable as well. But we're more than happy from the authority's perspective to provide that. Not to mention too, when Jenny came on to the board, we also want you to know that it'll always allow for, and the board has expressed their concerns to always have a South County seat.
Please.
So the only requirement is cannot be an elected official, so I want to make sure I'm transparent about that.
Please.
However, it can be any leader or those who are up and coming that you think would benefit from there. And so we're very lucky to have Mrs. Torres as one of our board directors as well. But we're more than happy to provide and produce a letter in which states that. We also know that you cannot develop any property with any city or county limits without the approval of the planning and zoning and engineering department. So I'm very stickler about that. I think it's my technical background prior to and my appreciation for regulatory and authority. So I don't see that being an issue, but you're right. I mean, overnight, you can have a new airport director, without a doubt. I can confirm that.
Yeah. Any questions or concerns on council? Any difference of opinion?
No, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me too. And thank you for letting me join in and share our part too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Jenny, you got it? We're going to go ahead and item number 2B, discussion of possible direction of staff in all matters regarding the Yuma Mesa Irrigation and Drainage District water supply for the city of San Luis. Jenny Torres, Economic Development Manager, and Eulogio Vera, Public Works Director, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. The city of San Luis has been working on a water study that we had Mr. Jim Davey from James Davies and Associate worked on the different types of water availability that the city has. He's been working on that. We hope to get that report by June of this year. And what that report is really going to tell us is, you know, what water availability do we have? What other options do we have? Is there infrastructure that's needed? But during this process, an opportunity came to our door by the Yuma Mesa Irrigation and Drainage District. They are wanting to work with us and be able to allocate 2,000 acre-feet of water for future use. Obviously, this is raw water, so if we wanted to bring that water in, we would have to develop infrastructure, which I'll have Jim and Eulogio talk about. But from the economic development perspective, you know, we know that water has become a very valuable asset. We were just in the meeting today, and we see, you know, Mexicali saying, you know, we want some infrastructure, some manufacturing companies looking at us. I think they're looking at us because we got the water.
Yeah.
And so I think whoever has the water is going to have an advantage. And I think any opportunity that we, the city of San Luis, can have in tapping into any resource, I think is worth the time. I think it's worth our while. Now, this would be a 10-year agreement. At the end of 10 years, I'm hoping that maybe we could go and negotiate an extension if we could. But if we couldn't, you know, there is a cost that would come. It is in your package there. It's about 10-year contract would include an administrative fee of $100 per year. At the end of the 10-year contract, the city would pay an estimated $300 per acre feet, or about $600 per year for 2,000 acre feet. Now, they do have an option of providing us additional water if we wanted to. Again, it's an opportunity that not many get, and I think that we really need to jump on this. So with that, I will have Jim Davey come in and kind of tell you a little bit about, you know, the study, how it's going, how the city can benefit, and then I will have Eulogio take a look at that map and kind of walk you through it.
Thank you, Jenny.
I just called him at 4 o'clock, so bear with him.
No pressure, no pressure.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, a pleasure to be here. As Jenny said, we are in the process of doing some further water analysis for the city's future needs. I think I last spoke to you about the time the solar wind tower project was going on, and we had done some work at that, and we were trying to expand that and sort of look at the different sources, groundwater, surface water in the valley from the Yuma County water users, possibly this Yuma Mesa source, and then which lands they can be applied onto, and at what point does the water supply you have now tend to limit growth. As you know, the city now is all on groundwater. And I've said it before, and I'll repeat it, that you have a very large groundwater basin under the city. So there is water there. But there are issues with groundwater. Groundwater is, over time, the water level will go down. Mexico pumps a lot on their side of the river. So pumping costs will increase. Groundwater quality tends to decline over time. It gets more concentrated. It's already probably twice as salty, higher total dissolved solids than the surface water from the Colorado River. And it's prone to contamination. There are some issues with it on the quality side and the future cost. The city also has water rights over in the Yuma Valley, that you have the converted water rights from the Yuma County water users. All the land developed in the Yuma Valley has water rights with it. Those get converted to the city. Those rights are not being used now, but that's water that can only be used in the Yuma Valley per the water users contract. With Yuma Mesa coming in, and the way Yuma Mesa works is they're primarily agriculture deliveries, but they have what they call an M&I allocation, municipal and industrial, of 10,000 acre feet per year. Currently, about 8,000 acre feet of that is either committed to Far West Water or is being committed to them, and then plus some goes to the Marine Base and some other users, small users. So they have 2,000 acre feet available that they would prefer to deal with the municipality in use of that water, and city of San Luis would be the logical choice for use of that water. What it does, like I said, while there's plenty of groundwater, surface water is as long as it rains in the Colorado River Basin, there will be water in the river. So it's a much more permanent water right. The Yuma Mesa's water rights are paramount to the Central Arizona project in the Phoenix area. I think their water rights date from the 1930s, 1940s. And it gives the city flexibility for if a large water user were to come in and wanted a better quality water than the groundwater, that water is available. To get water to the city, I think Elohi will address a little bit more, but it would require construction of a surface water treatment plant. It would require construction of a pipeline from Yuma Mesa Irrigation District. But I think we haven't done cost estimates on those, but if I just pull a number out of the air, that may be a $20 million investment 10 years in the future. But it gives the city a lot of flexibility. It allows the city to bring in new lands if available. Maybe some of the federal lands around the city could be brought in, but it gives you another source, another selling point for future development. As Jenny explained, the first 10 years, Yuma Mesa is basically willing to hold it for 10 years. Just sort of an annual administration fee, but then at the end of 10 years, they would like an answer either to release it for another user or to put it to use. And I think that's the overall general of it. I'm glad to answer any questions.
I have a quick question for you. I know this is groundwater. We're designed to treat, this is the surface water.
Yes.
And I know our system is designed to filter out and work out with groundwater. So with this new type of water, it would mean investing in a new system to purify it and to process it, correct?
Yes, that is correct. It'd be a surface water plant like City of Yuma runs, or Town of Welton has a surface water plant. Right now, the basic treatment you do is iron and manganese removal, and then plus chlorination. Chlorination would still be required, iron and manganese removal would not, but you would have to do sediment removal, filtration, in addition to the what you do now.
Yeah, it requires investment. No, I agree. I think we should start looking now. It's a 10-year commitment, and I think we'll be ready in 10 years because, one, we need to guarantee for future development. By the way, development is going on right now. We cannot totally depend on groundwater. And the way Mexico is growing exponentially, and they're drilling deeper than us.
Yes.
And so you're right. And the thing is, it's going to cost us more to process, to purify the groundwater. So I'm all for it. I know, Jenny, when we discussed this issue, I think we need to start now, not 10 years from now. Thank you. Mr. Vera?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. So just like both Jenny and Jim mentioned, the type of infrastructure will definitely need a surface water treatment plant. Also, one of the big benefits of this, and this is something that working with Jenny, we get those requests, especially lately, last 3 years, of those big users that could potentially come and use as much water as what we're using now for the entire city. So right now we have 12 wells that serve the city. Imagine having a user that wants to or needs 12 wells to serve them. This would be the solution. I mean, this would bring surface water from either Yuma Mesa or from the Yuma County water users. In their concept layout, it just sort of allows the connection of those two surface water sources so that we can treat it and provide that need. So it is an option. Jenny mentioned at the end of 10 years, or Jim, but who knows, we might need it before the 10 years. And if somebody comes, we can let them know, what, this is the concept we have, this is what we think it's going to cost, but the water's there, available. It's not something that any city can say that they have the water secured, so.
Yeah. I know in our meeting, when we mentioned the amount of water availability in Yuma County, I know the people from Mexicali were like shocked in the number. And the thing is, they cannot compete. Then again, they are over 1 million population. And the thing is, they have a water situation. And the thing is, an industry, and that's why when we showed them our number, the Yuma County number, they were very, very surprised and very, very interested. So we need to continue that. We need to make sure that we have that water. California will be fighting more for its water, Colorado River. So we need to guarantee the allocation now, not 5-10 years from now. So no, that's good. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for bringing it up. It really is a very important issue. And if you don't think it's important, the city of San Luis continues growing. Development continues. They're building more homes. So we need that guarantee to make sure that we have that 100-year guarantee for future development.
Yeah, and I just want to mention also something that when we started talking about this is thinking, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. We initially thought we're going to start paying that commitment up front, from year one.
No.
So when we offer this opportunity, just secure it. After 10 years, we can talk it over again, and maybe you'll start paying. That was great. We didn't think we were going to get that from the beginning.
$100 a year is not bad. So, good. Any questions, concerns from council?
No, sir.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Vera, can you explain a little bit about the map of how the water would get here so council is familiar?
Okay, so this is a concept. During design it can change some, but really in the left part of the map we have the blue there. That's the city limits and what's developed, and to the north it's sort of the boundaries of the Yuma County Water Users Irrigation District. So that area there is served by water rights from Yuma County water users. As it develops, they can be converted and become the cities, similar to what we've converted already in the valley, like in Los Portales area, in Rio Sereno area. That area can be converted to the city, so we can actually use those water rights. As you move east or to your right, that green area just north of the Avenue F section, that's an area that could be served by Yuma Mesa surface water. In the layout, we actually laid out a location for a future surface water treatment plant just northeast of the Rowley Airfield. And it was just, I mean, something that we think now makes sense, but it can change in the future. But it's sort of in between both a good connection point for Yuma County water users, water, as well as Yuma Mesa Irrigation and Drainage District water. However, I mean, there is about an 8-mile pipeline that we will have to put in to be able to get water to that location from Yuma Mesa. So it is an expensive project, but then again, long-term, having the water secured, it just brings much more than that, an opportunity for the city and for economic development and future investments here in the city. So that's sort of, in general terms, that's how it works. It brings, and then from that treatment plant, it can be distributed into the city, whether just directly south or south and west. I mean, it just depends where the growth continues to happen and where the need is.
Exactly. That's good. Very good.
Is that good, Louis? So that's what we have.
Proceed. What's next? I mean, do we formally, what happens next, Jenny?
So what happens next is we get approval to move forward with an agreement with Yuma Mesa Irrigation and Drainage District. We so have you submitted the letter? We'll submit a letter of interest, and then we will move forward with a contract. And they'll take it to their board, and then it'll come for approval here at council as well.
Proceed. Yeah.
And in the water study that Jim is working on, he'll give us a cost estimate of all that infrastructure. So once he's done with his study, well, bring him back and he can kind of explain to you the results of the study, and he'll have a cost estimate of that infrastructure. So you also have that in mind.
Yeah. 22 million, was it? I kind of got the
Now
picture.
or 10 years from now?
10 years from now.
And you'll provide something very similar to what we're trying to do with wastewater. You know, somebody that needs all the capacity, we can say, yeah, we can provide it, but this is the price tag that comes with it. But at least it's available and we have an idea of how much it will cost.
Exactly.
It's a game changer for economic development, so.
You bet. Thank you. Yeah, so proceed.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and go with item number, let's see here, 2C. Discussion of possible action staff in all matters regarding contract with Atlantis Productions and Company for the fireworks presentations during the 4th of July celebration. Maria?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you may know, Parks and Recreation Department is already working on 4th of July event. We're finalizing contracts and bands. Our department has been working with Lantis Productions for many years, using their services for their fireworks presentation at 4th of July event for over 10 years. Lantis has provided us with exceptional service and has helped us make our event a memorable one for all of our residents. This year, the Lantis quote is $23,000, and it will be for a fireworks display at the Jordoño Park, one location only this year.
Okay.
Staff would like to move forward and seek direction from Mayor and Council. Any questions you may have?
They're giving us a discount. Do we? I know they are,
Yes.
because we've been with them for like 11 years. Yeah, so they've been even through the pandemic, they were willing to work with us, and it's just amazing. No, it's a good company, and they're from Las Vegas, I believe, aren't they? Okay.
Yes, from Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
Any questions from council? No?
Any questions? No,
They're a great company. Thank you.
thank you.
Proceed. Item number 2D, discussing the possible direction of staff in all matters regarding proposed ordinance on animal abuse. A proposed ordinance amending Title VI of the San Luis City Code by adding a new Chapter 6.0 Abuse of Animals, imposing penalties for violation, repealing any conflicting provisions and ordinance, and providing for severability. Mr. Jose de la Lara, City Prosecutor.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. In February, I had to dismiss a case that really bothered me because it was an animal cruelty case. It was a man who was viciously beating his dog because the dog ran away. The police charged him with cruelty to animals, and it turns out that because the dog did not sustain an injury, I didn't have a factual basis for it, so I had to dismiss the case. Now, I looked to see if there were any other statutes that I could find to use this, and there aren't any. So I decided that we should have one. We should have one in San Luis, because this is a problem here. So I drafted an ordinance that I believe covers it. The problem with the current statute is unless the dog is injured, you can beat it, you can kick it, you can do whatever you want to it. But if he's not injured, you haven't committed a crime. The problem also with this sort of behavior is that it leads to other abusive behavior, not just with animals, but with the people. I did a little research with PETA, Humane Society, and found that there is one animal abused every minute in the United States. And 88% of people investigated for child abuse hurt animals. So this violence breeds, is more violence. And it's, if you have kids that are growing up in a home with, where their parents, older siblings can beat animals, that generates a thought process that they can do this too. And in the United States, dogs comprise 65% of all animals suffering abuse. So I thought it was time we had this. I gotta tell you though, I looked throughout the state, not one other city in Arizona has such an ordinance. I found that I found that horrifying, that you can actually beat an animal. And you know, a dog, 15 seconds after you beat the dog is gonna be lapping at you and loving you. But I found that offensive. So I drafted this statute, this ordinance, excuse me, and I submitted to you for consideration. I can also tell you that individual, that defendant, I've had other cases with him, every one of them, domestic violence, abuse of, and not just domestic violence, violence with other people, very aggressive individual.
Mr. Vera, would this be a unique for any city? Any other city has something similar like this? No one does.
No other city in Arizona has this. And so I asked, I belong to an organization, it's a loose organization of prosecutors who advise police departments. And I asked them about that, and they said, no, it's time we had something. Let us know how it goes in San Luis. So, but I just can't believe that in this day and age, we don't have an ordinance like that or a statute like that.
And this would be considered, the proposed ordinance would be considered this a Class 1 misdemeanor, maximum sentence of 6 months to jail and/or under the maximum fine of $2,500?
Yes.
Okay.
How much did you say?
2,500?
Yes,
Not 25,000, 2,500.
2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the maximum fine for any Class 1 misdemeanor.
Protect oneself, a person, okay. What does council think? I think it's,
I like it, like the idea.
we'll be the first, and I think we need something like that, so that's good. Proceed.
Thank you.
I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Our next meeting will happen at 7:30.
Mira, boys.